We're not entitled to someone being our client just because we got in touch with them or we met them at an event or whatever the case. It's really like, did you do something that actually moved this person, that inspired this person, that, led this person to a new action, to a new thought process, to a new, takeaway? And I think that there's like a deeper level of that kind of gets overlooked sometimes.
You're 100% right, and I would say that it's a level of authenticity, right? Because a lot of people are giving because it's a checklist item. Okay, if I do this, then I'll get this, or the book says to do this. But you can see it. You can see it in the posts. You can see it in the conversation. It's just a checkbox, as opposed to authentically saying, okay, this is something that happened. This means something to me. This is what I learned from it, and I'd like to share it with you.
Welcome back to the Kelly Roach Show. I am super pumped to have a very special guest with me here today, Mr. Ty Richardson. Hey, Ty.
Hi, Kelly.
I'm so happy you're here. So you guys, I have been talking a lot on the show about obviously the importance of building a winning team, which we talk about constantly on the show. But we've also talked about when you're a multifaceted founder that wants to build and run multiple companies, how important it is to build a talent pool in your original company and then be able to find the right leaders that you can then promote up, elevate out, and run additional businesses for you. And I thought it would be really fun to spend some time with Ty today because Ty previously, what role did you even come into the business advisory first doing, Ty? Because
I
you've
was
been
a
through a
strat-
couple. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so he was a strategist, then he was over the coaching division of the company, and then I came to him back a couple months ago and I said, Ty, I think you can lead the charge over here inside the Advanced Innovation Society. And I tapped him and I said, do you trust me? Are you willing to have an even crazier job than the one you're in right now? Will you come run the Advance and be the vice president of membership? Luckily, he said yes. And so I thought it'd be fun to come and talk about that today. What do you think, Ty?
I think this is phenomenal. I mean, I'm super excited, and yes, I fully trust you because you've not led me wrong so far.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you're here. Well, Ty, you have a really interesting business background and you've done a lot long before you came to be a strategist inside the business advisory. Why don't you just share a little bit about yourself so people can get to know you a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So, Kelly, I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. My parents were both entrepreneurs. And so the natural progression for me was to get into entrepreneurship. But at the age of 18, I said nope. And I wanted to go work in corporate America. And I wanted to work either in airlines or in banking. And lo and behold, my first job was with American Airlines. I started in international security, and then I came to the US. And I was able to progress my way through American, going from airport operations. And then I got into my first corporate job, which was the head of branch operations for the American Airlines Credit Union. So for me, I got to check off banking and airlines in one go. From there, they gave me global business development for the credit union, and then I moved over to Europe. And my last role with American, I was in charge of our call center operations across Europe and Asia Pacific, based in Dublin. So that was really fun and exciting. But American was at this point, we were a large airline, one of the largest in the world, and still in bankruptcy mode. We were hemorrhaging about $1 billion a quarter. And every call had to be like, how are we saving money? How are we growing the company? What are we doing differently? How are we keeping staff motivated? So it was like being in the Harvard of business. You had to learn how to keep your division, your organization within this big multinational alive and well, and hemorrhaging layoffs. So that was really my foray into business and how to make it work. Then I did pivot into entrepreneurship. American gave me an option of taking 2 years off with travel benefits just when we filed bankruptcy. I said yes, went to Silicon Valley and built a social network, only to realize that it wasn't as glamorous as everybody said it would be. And we did not get the hockey stick curve you need to survive. So what was my first lesson in failure? How to fail fast and how to fail forward. Failed fast, failed forward, pivoted, went back into corporate, and then became a digital nomad, which was probably the funnest career I had. I took my laptop and I started traveling throughout the Caribbean, just doing events, networking events. This was my first real jump into networking events around the world where I engaged young professionals, built this army of 40 young professionals that would go out and host these events in different countries. It was phenomenal. We did that for 3 years, and then I came back to the US. Realized that living on an island is not good for me. I'm not that slow-minded. I need to be in the action all the time. Came back, built a financial consultancy on my back of my time with the credit union. That got to Got that to seven figures in 9 months, but realized it took a long time to get those deals closed. Then I pivoted into coaching, went to Gallup, got certified as a business coach, performance coach, opened a practice. COVID hit, decided I didn't want to do this on my own anymore.
Yeah.
And I met you.
Yeah, yeah. So much great experience. And Ty, what would you say are like some of the top two or three things that you learned from those experiences that you now leverage on the day to day with what you've been able to do?
Yeah. So, one of the things that all of these things taught me is you have to lean into your strengths, right? My successes were in my career were based on understanding who I was,
Hmm.
what my strengths were, what the strengths of my team members were, and how to leverage everything to move forward. One of the things that I think we get caught up in is like, yes, there's a need for personal development, but that personal development has to contribute to something you're already good at. It has to contribute to a path forward that you've already defined for yourself. And if you do that and do that really, really well, you have no choice but to be successful.
Yeah.
So leaning into those strengths was critical for me, and one of my key takeaways that I work on now and I build into the team. And then the second thing that I would say is that, one of the keys to success is making sure that you're giving value. A lot of people see their business and their goals and their budget numbers, and they're like, okay, how do I take? How do I build this? How do I get this? But if you just stop and you give value, and I used to say this whenever I went to events, if you just offer conversation, offer value, offer insight, give people a little bit of something that they can actually build their understanding, build their relationship with you, gain some credibility, the deal will come, the sale will come, the partnership will come. It will come later on. But it
Yeah.
doesn't start with, you don't start with taking, you start with giving.
Yeah, I think. Can we say that again, Ty? I think that's such a powerful reminder for everyone. And listen, I think that everyone in today's online business world feels like they're giving all the time with creating content and the things that they do. But I think that on a deeper level, I posted about this the other day. Actually, I wrote people need to stop thinking of their businesses as a dancing monkey and instead think about it as a sport that they train ruthlessly for, right? Because we're not entitled to success because we put in a certain number of hours. We're not entitled to someone being our client just because we got in touch with them or we met them at an event or whatever the case. It's really like, did you do something that actually moved this person, that inspired this person, that, led this person to a new action, to a new thought process, to a new, takeaway? And I think that there's like a deeper level of that kind of gets overlooked sometimes, right?
You're 100% right. And I would say that it's a level of authenticity, right? Because a lot of people are giving because it's a checklist item. Okay, if I do this, then I'll get
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
or the book says to do this. But you can see it. You can see it in the posts, you can see it
For
in the
sure.
conversation. It's just a checkbox, as opposed to authentically saying, okay, this is something that happened. This means something to me. This is what I learned from it, and I'd like to share it with you. With
Yeah.
that authenticity is the biggest differentiator.
For sure. So, one of the things that I saw in you in your time at the Business Advisory is that you really know how to make people feel special. You have a gift of creating just an extraordinary experience for people that makes them feel a sense of belonging. It makes them feel a sense of excitement. It makes them really feel connected to what they're doing, which is something that I knew was going to translate very well into what we wanted to build at the Advance. But I know for a lot of people, they want to see their community grow. They want to see more engagement online. They want to see all of that. I mean, obviously, you already shared the importance of what I would call like giving without expectation. It's just like do the right thing for the right reason, not because it's like a quid pro quo, like, okay, tit for tat, I'm going to give this. Now you better, respond the way that I expect you to, or I'm not going to keep doing it, right? But what are some of the things that you really focus on when you look at client experience, client results, building community that you think can really help the people listening today when they look at the sticking power of their programs, the experience and the community they're trying to build? What are some of the things that you always think about there?
So, this is again, it goes back to like making sure that you're not just following a script, but you're authentically being your genuine self. When you're designing, whether it's an event, whether it's your community, whether it's a program, whether it's an outcome, it's important for you to know your avatar, right? And funnily enough, this is something that we talk about in the advanced, we have a training on it that's coming up. But we focus on your avatar, and it's making sure you know everything about the person that you're working with. And why is this important? Because when you're designing your program, you're designing your experience, it's important to think from that person's perspective, not from yours, not from you thinking this is what I want to achieve sales wise. Rather, this is what I want them to feel. This is what I
Yeah.
want them to walk away with. These are the things that if I do this, they'll feel that. And so it's making sure that they become the prominent part of your design experience and not you. And then the second thing is thinking all the way through. It's not enough to say, oh, we're going to have an event here or we're going to launch this new program. It's what do we want them to experience in the program? What do we want them to feel in the program? What do we want them to walk away with? What do we want them to say at the end about the program? And when you figure out what those what's are, then you can figure out, well, how do you get there and
Yeah.
design the experience and the parts of the program that curate that deliver that for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we did 13 events last year across the companies. Ty, you spearheaded the vast majority of them, which was a huge feat given that you were working a full time job in the company, running the coaching division and coaching the team and coaching clients and doing all the other things as well. But I really saw that, and I saw that intent, and I saw that care and concern, and I could really see that the clients could feel that, from their side. I think that every person that comes to an in-person experience with us like walks away, regardless of what it was, like, okay, wow, this, I feel connected. I feel invested in, I feel poured into. And it's not just the content at the front of the stage, it's all of those little things in between. Like you said, what do we want them to feel at the end? Now, fast forward to today, you officially joined the Advance full time January 2nd. And literally, the fire in this community is the most insane thing I have ever seen. First of all, there may be some people here that don't know what the Advance is. So I'm going to back up for a quick second. I'm going to give like a 30-second overview of the Advance. And then Ty, I really want you to talk about the vision of what you are doing with the Advance this year. And then, of course, we'll let people know how they can get involved if it sounds exciting to them. So for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what the Advance is, first of all, taking a step back, the Advance is a company that I was an investor in a couple years back. I was a silent partner. I was not involved at all in the day-to-day. I wasn't involved in the execution, all of that. When my partner decided that they wanted to step away, I had a choice of either selling the business, closing it down, or acquiring it. And I was like, I invested in this for a reason, because I want to create a global movement of business leaders around the world that are connecting like the town square, that are talking to each other, that are sitting down face to face with each other, that are solving meaningful problems, innovating together, leading together. I want to disrupt the mastermind space and create something completely counter to everything that people have seen, felt, and experienced in the space. So there was no way I was selling it. And there was no way I was shutting it down. So I was like, I'm all in. So we rebranded, we redesigned the focus of the avatar. We really up-leveled to focus on much more experienced business leaders that have built substantial companies, that have been in business for years, that were really looking for an elevated conversation, really looking for something that was more localized. I know for me, one of the biggest reasons why I don't get involved in a lot of organizations is I have a 9-year-old daughter. I'm not going to get on a plane every month and go fly to be in a mastermind room. I'm looking for local experiences. Now, when I moved to Florida, I didn't know anybody. So I was like, this is a great opportunity. Ty lived in Florida. Some of our other executive team lived in Florida. We've been really intentional about building here. But within, just a couple months of Ty even getting involved fractionally, like a few hours a week at night and on the weekend, I think we have 25 new locations that have launched, Ty?
We do.
25 new locations that have launched and growing. And so just to give everybody, like, to paint a picture of what this is all about. This is all about local for local business leaders uniting to pass referrals, to make significant introductions, to share ideas, to break through barriers, to really come together and build a significant business community in their local town or city, where there's no ego, there's no pitching, there's no poaching, there's no promoting. It's really about community, it's about conversation, and it's about innovation, right? And so the community is just on fire. It's insane. Ty, what do you think the magic behind the magic is right now? Like, what is happening that this is just like exploding in this way?
Kelly, I would say it in one word: ownership. And it's because it's not our community anymore. It's not our business. It's theirs. This movement, and I'm glad you used the word movement.
Yeah.
This is a complete grassroots movement. We have created the infrastructure, we've created a few incentives, we've created a platform, and we've given it to some really driven, motivated, ambitious entrepreneurs who see the mission, they see the value, and they're just taking it from us and they're running with it. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you continue to support them and lead from behind,
Yeah.
they're going to do great things with this network
Yeah.
because they're invested in it. It's theirs.
Yeah, I see that too. I think that's, and it's really exciting for me because, spending the last 11 years being a strategist, being a coach, running coaching programs, running masterminds, my biggest dream was that I could create something that was bigger than me. I mean, I literally wrote a book called Bigger Than You, right? Like, this has been my dream for so long that I could spur a movement that, yes, I could incubate the idea, but that I could set the idea free in the world and let entrepreneurs lead the way that they know how to. Now, I think what you've done really, really well, Ty, is you've built this local leaders program, and the local leaders are like taking this thing by storm. I mean, it's insane what is happening. And by the way, guys, for everybody listening, the reason why I'm unpacking these things is like, I know you want to build your communities. I know you want your clients taking the lead. I know you want to create a movement that's bigger than you. And like Ty is doing this in real time with the advance. So it's literally like you're listening to an episode of like how we built this, right? So Ty, tell me a little bit and tell everybody a little bit. First of all, because there might be people listening that are like, oh, local leader, I would be interested in being at the front of the room. I would be interested in that. So why don't we explain the dynamic of what that role is about, how it fits into the bigger picture, and who might be a good fit or not be a good fit to be a local leader.
So our local leader program are basically individuals who've joined the network, they're members, and they've decided that they want to take the lead and bring people together in their local community. They want to represent our global network in their local area. So one of the things that they see immediately is they get to be the local leader, the advanced representative for Denver, for Charlotte, for Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale, as part of this massive global network
Yeah.
with locations in Australia, in Honolulu, in Canada. Like, they see the value, right? And so they join up and then they say, okay, our requirement is only that they host 11 events. We say 11 events because November, December gets to be a little tricky with all the holidays.
Yeah.
So we only ask people to host 11 consistent events. But after that, they can decide whether those events are breakfast, lunch, happy hour, workshops. They have full carte blanche and creativity in designing what that is. And then once they host those events, they sign people up. They can be the facilitator. They can do a mastermind. They can do any format that they want. And they engage folks. Now, we have an incentive for our local leaders. When they get to 25 members, their city becomes known as what's called a qualified city. And what a qualified city is that they, as a local leader, get their membership paid for the next year. So we bonus them and we say, okay, you've done the job of building the city.
Yeah.
We want to give you this as a gift. You have the free membership.
Yeah.
Continue to run and grow that city. And when cities get beyond that, then we break them into different parts. Now, the other thing that's cool about local leaders is they get paid. Kelly, they get paid to be a part of this program. We believe in the power of referrals and we reward people accordingly. As such, every regular member of the advance gets $500 when they refer somebody in
Yeah.
to the advance. Doesn't matter whether they pay in full or payment plan, they get a $500 payment as a reward, as an incentive for referring people to the advance. As a local leader, you get a little bit more, you get $550, but then that goes on to the additional benefit again of getting 25 members that you get your full membership paid for free. So you make $5,000, so your membership gets paid for free, plus you still continue to make 550 every time you refer somebody in and grow your city. So it's really incentivized for folks who want to be local leaders. What makes for a great local leader? Just passion.
Yeah.
Passion and drive to connect. To connect,
Mm.
build no ego. Like, what does not make for a good local leader? Ego. This is not about you standing in front of the room using the advanced name to sell your product or service. This
Yeah.
is about you wanting to bring people together to connect for the sake of business and conversation. And organically, you will earn referrals. we've had it every single event we've held in Fort Lauderdale. We've exchanged 2 to 3 referrals in the room between
Yeah.
members, between the local leader. It organically happens. You don't have to try,
Yeah.
but it will happen.
No, it's amazing. I mean, I've witnessed it and it's mind blowing. And actually, I went to the last one here in Delray and I got a referral for actually a vendor that I desperately needed, that I had been searching and searching and searching and couldn't find the right person. And I actually got the name of someone that was attending the event was already working with. And I was like, I cannot believe this. Like it was like serendipity for me. And the thing is, you know, people many times think about referrals in a one-dimensional way. A lot of our members are passing referrals to one another already. We have a lot of members that are like, this is one of my biggest sources of growing my business now. I'm thinking of Poe and I'm thinking of Zana and I'm thinking of some of our members that really are leaning in. And you can make as much of it or as little of it as you want, right? It's choose your own adventure, which is what I love about it. It's choose your own adventure. But it can be just as meaningful when you sit in the room and you hear a question being asked and you get an answer that you really needed, that you didn't even know that you needed, or you get the name of a service provider. You know, I know for me, one of the biggest mistakes that I've made over the course of my business career is hiring the wrong service provider. And when you have to go out and try and find someone on your own versus hiring someone based on a referral, that is a game changer, right? So I think, you know, the other thing is we're really investing in teaching people how to build $1 million referral system. And that's one of the new things that we just launched. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about that, Ty, but that's obviously for everyone. But yeah, the local leaders have been amazing. And it's one of those things where it's like, you get to be at the front of the room. You get to be connected to this incredible movement. You get to be a part of the co-creation of how your city blooms and blossoms and how it grows, but you're not carrying it because it's a community. It is a cohort. It's everyone coming together. And I think that's the thing that's been so refreshing for everyone from both sides. It's one that you get to show up and just participate. It's like, come as you are, right? It's
Mhm.
so casual and relaxed and fun and free. So that's really, really nice. But I think it's also the fact that, like, you can show up and some days you're giving and some days you're receiving and sometimes you're talking and sometimes you're listening. And I think that's a really unique element of it as well. That for me, being in business and the online space for so long, it's been refreshing for me, not as the founder of the advance, but literally as like a participant, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think one of the things you touched on that's really important for people to understand is, like, we want people to refer, but when you join the advance, you're part of a community.
Yeah.
And I can't underscore the value of that so much. People here are now vested in your success. Why? Because they're chatting with you on a daily basis. They're getting to know you. They're listening to your community
Yeah.
shares. They're engaging with you in masterminds where you're talking about your business, where they're learning about
Yeah.
you, where you're learning about them. There is a bond that's created with
Yeah.
members within the advance. Doesn't matter how big it gets.
Yeah.
And it's not just about referring business, it's about sharing resources. They
Yeah.
exchange books. There was somebody who posted recently about an emotional thing that they were going through, and everybody in the community just started giving them encouragement, support, advice. Like,
I
it
saw
is
that.
more, it is your support group, right? I know a
Yeah.
lot of you are in coaching programs and you work with consultants and VAs. This is like joining a support group for business in
Yeah.
general, that no ulterior objective, no ulterior motive, just want to see your success.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's amazing about it because, you know, obviously, you know, most entrepreneurs are very familiar with the coaching and mastermind space. And what is so amazing about coaching is that it's very directional in nature, right? It's like you're on a path, you're learning a specific thing, you're generating a specific outcome, and it's a very tracked progression, which is
Mhm.
amazing, right? Because you go there because you want that specific outcome. But what you can't do in that environment is you can't have the free flowing innovation of just dialogue and idea sharing and community in that way because there just isn't time for that. Like you can't be all things to everyone all in one place or there will be no form or direction to what you're doing. And I
Mhm.
think for me, I know one of the very first things that I did when I started my business was I joined the local, I'm not going to name the name because I don't want to put down any other organization, but I joined one of the biggest named networking organizations in the world in my local area. And it is suffice to say that it was one of the biggest disappointments I've ever experienced. It was just low energy, really low level discussion. I wasn't getting any value. I actually felt like my time was wasted, which to me is like the highest offense. Like, please don't waste my time. And so I actually gave up on networking for a really long time because I was like, okay, I can't afford to be in spaces and places where my time is being wasted. And I'm sure a lot of you listening today feel exactly the same way. And that's why when my first partner came to me with the idea for the advance, I was like, heck yes, we need like a total reinvention. We need a complete disruption of the networking space. And I think we're doing it and we're doing it right. You
We
know?
are. We are, and I want everyone to understand. As Kelly said, this is sort of like a training on building communities. We're intentional, right? Yes, this is a grassroots
Yeah.
movement. Yes, the movement's taking off, but in the material that we've shared, and we have a six-part series, a training on how to build the referrals, a powerful referral system. We walk you through step by step how we're being intentional in what we do.
Yeah.
We know the incentives we're planning. We know the toolkits we put together. We have curated our dashboard. We have built in mechanisms for people to see how they're performing against other people. So we've built the back end resource to say, okay, you want to take this off? Great. Here's your support tools.
Yeah.
Take off and run with it. But
Yeah.
here's how you're tracking on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I just want to give you guys that are listening a little bit of an overview of like what is included in the advance in case you're listening today and you're like, wow, this sounds really interesting. And then if you want to learn more, you can just connect directly with Ty. So Ty Richardson. Ty, what's your Instagram handle? What's your Facebook?
Okay, so Instagram is Dr. Dot Ty Rich, and Facebook is Dr. Ty Rich, all one word.
Okay. So, and we'll put all of his links in the show notes down below. So you can just connect directly with Ty if you want to learn more about the advance. But Ty, do you want to just give a little bit of an overview of what is actually included in their annual membership?
Absolutely. So the advance is a hybrid model. We have an online component and the in-person local meetups, as Kelly has shared. Our online component consists of two innovation circles a month. So every 2 weeks, you have a 90-day session in which we provide you a topic and questions for you to work in small groups as you connect and get to know your peers in the advance. That happens for 90 minutes, twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
Then once a month, we do what's called the next or community shares. And what the next program is we want to get to know why you are who you are and what you're doing. So as a subject matter expert, you're given time to share a little bit about something that will educate the community, but more importantly, let the community learn more about you
Yeah.
and what makes for a good referral. And then the last thing that we have on the online component is that we offer what's called visibility exchange sessions. So this is where you can say, I'm authoring a book and I need a guest feature, or I have a podcast and I'm looking for a guest. And somebody else can say, I'm looking for a podcast to be on, to guest on. And so there's this exchange of visibility so you can help grow your audience, and you can help someone else grow their audience if it's synergistic to you.
Yeah.
Now, these are the four main things that happen in the events. Once in a while, we will do ad hoc trainings. As Kelly mentioned, we're going through a training cycle right now where we're teaching about building the $1 million referral system. So ad hoc training sessions would appear on your calendar for those, which are all included in your annual membership. And then the live and locals are right now 25. Our goal is to get to 50 by July. But these
Love
are
it.
in-person. These are in-person communities scattered around the world, where you will get to meet up once a month with a local leader who is putting together that in-person experience. Now, if you're living in a city where you don't have an in-person experience, we also encourage you to come to Florida, or come to a city that's closest to you. A lot of these experiences are happening where you can maybe add on a day, add on 2 days,
Yeah.
stay for the weekend. So we really encourage you to make a trip out of it if you really want to experience that networking element with this kind of community. And we have people who travel around from location to experience it. So the combination of this online world and these in-person experiences is what makes it the advance. And we have a lot more cool stuff coming later on in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple of things I want to add to that. First of all, I love the Florida Hub meeting. So we usually do them in Fort Lauderdale. I am trying to rope Ty into coming up to Delray as much as humanly possible. We had one last month in Delray. It was amazing. People literally, we sat oceanfront all day long. It was just like the most incredible day. Everyone was having so much fun, learning, growing, passing referrals, sharing ideas. It was just amazing. People were like doing content in front of the ocean. I mean, it's just amazing. So the thing is you can come to any of the Florida Hub meetings anytime you want. And, being in the mastermind world and the coaching world for so long, one of the number one pieces of feedback that I've gotten for, I think I've had my mastermind for like 8 years now, is people would say to me, like, I would join just to come to like the 3 in person things. Like, I would join just for the in person experiences. And if you're the kind of person that understands the power of sitting in a room with other thought leaders, sharing ideas, having these conversations, and exchanging. And by the way, like Ty, obviously, who's like leading the charge with this, obviously has high level entrepreneurial experience. He's coached a ton of our clients at a very high level. Like, he brings all of that as well. But you can come to any of the Florida Hub meetings that you want. And as Ty mentioned already, if there isn't a location already up and running in your local city, you can attend any of the other locations. Like, you are free when you're traveling to be like, oh, I want to pop into Portland, or I want to pop into the New York City, or like whatever. Or if you have a little gusto, you can have a conversation about getting a city up and running. And you will be amazed. Like, I was shocked the first month that we took Nashville live. What do we have? Like 10 or 14 people the very first time they got together. And like, it hadn't even like gotten off the ground yet. Like, it was literally the first time they were getting together. So you can attend as many of those as you want. You can attend wherever you want. And I love it because it's choose your own adventure. And I think the thing that is so amazing about the advance is it's really disrupting the networking space. It's creating a whole new paradigm on masterminding. It's fun, it's light, and it's inexpensive. And we did this very intentionally. And I'm not going to make any wild promises about how long we're keeping this price point. Ty's already mad at me because he's like, we should be charging 10 times this. It's $5,000 for an entire year. $5,000 for an entire year, you guys. Okay. So obviously that's going to change over time. But if you're listening to this today and you're like, this sounds incredible, like, jump on it now. I will say there is an application process because the quality of who we have in this are very high caliber individuals. We want to keep it that way. We want people that can both give and receive, that can be great community members. And I will say there's no pitching, poaching, or propositioning people, right? Like, it's that happens naturally as a byproduct. That is not going to be like, you're not going to come to the event and be like, let me hand out my business card, right? It's like not that kind of thing at all. But definitely, guys, connect with Ty if you want to learn more about it. Ty, what am I missing on that?
Yeah, it was really important for you to touch on that last part, Kelly, because we are, like I said, intentional, right? We've curated this community. Everything that happens in it has been designed and planned out, and people are
Yeah.
taking it and running with it. But to maintain that, we do have an application process. You have to be making 250,000 in income or revenue a year. We are open to both career professionals and entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And so we are bringing together this group of people. There are a few exceptions that we will make, and that, for example, if you are part of the coaching company, we will look at your application a little bit, more loosely. But for the most part, we want to make sure that everybody who comes in understands that
Yeah.
that is the value we're bringing, and that's the commitment that we're making to you. That those are the people you're not working with, and that's why this is a very, very highly curated and impactful community.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, Ty, let's give, just before we wrap up here, just a couple top tips for people here that are like, I want to see this fire in my own community. I want my WhatsApp chat to be like exploding with people engaging every day. I want my clients to love every experience that they have and to stick around. What are like your top 3 tips that you would give people listening today for things they can do in their own community? And then let's just give them where they can connect with you once again, and maybe your email address so that they want to schedule some time with you.
Absolutely. So number one, make sure that you're giving people the ability to get to know each other, right? If you have a community where you're the only one pushing content and people are in a room with other people they
Yes.
don't know, who are they going to connect with, right? So if you're looking
Yes.
for community, they have to have a platform to talk about themselves, and you have to be able to connect and share them with other people. That's number one.
So good.
Number two, you have to be able to incentivize them, right?
Yeah.
People are driven by competitive nature. They have to have a short-term goal, a long-term goal, and a stretch goal, right? And your short-term goal is an immediate hit. We have $500. You bring a member in, $500, you get that right away. Longer term, we want to get to 50 cities by July, and we want
That's so
25
good.
members per city. 25 members per city. So we have incentivized that free membership for the local leader if they get to 25 members in their city. And that's what they're pushing for.
Yeah.
Okay. And then number three, celebrate. these people, celebrate their accomplishments, make sure that they understand that this isn't all about pushing the numbers, pushing the incentive,
Yeah.
pushing them to do stuff, that you're vested in their success and you want to see them grow. So celebrate publicly, loudly, and make sure that they're recognizing that celebration.
That is amazing. Those are such good tips, Ty, and I can totally see why you're having such amazing success with this group. So, guys, if you want to get in touch with Ty, what's your email address if they want to schedule some time with you?
Or it's easy, Ty at theadvancedsociety.com.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Ty, thank you for being here. And I hope to see you all at one of our local hub meetings in Florida. And if not, on the leaderboard and in the WhatsApp chat for the advance. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next week. Thank you so much for listening to The Kelly Roach Show. If you enjoyed this episode, do me two solids. Subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review so other people can find the life-changing content that we share here. We're on our way to #1, and we need your help getting there. Thanks so much for being a part of the community and for tuning into the show each and every week.